going to start by talking about the ingredients for orange pudding from 1789. And I did make one substitution from a different cookbook from 1789 by Mrs. McIver, who is an Edinburgh teacher of the culinary arts. So the original recipe calls for orange, and you're supposed to peel it and boil it down with the juice to make a conserve. But Mrs. McIver says, if you have not this, put some beet marmalade in place of it. So I have marmalade, which I'm gonna whip up and include it in the recipe. You also need a Naples biscuit, which we would call a ladyfinger, like you would make tiramisu with. And you need to finely grate it through microplane, and that will be included with the marmalade. The other ingredients are pretty easy. You need good quality butter. I've got Irish butter here. 6 egg yolks separated. A half cup of superfine sugar. I changed all the pounds to cups to make it easier for modern cooks. And some puff pastry. And the original recipe says to make your own puff pastry, but I'm cheating and using the kind that they make in the store. So those are basically the ingredients. If you would like to know more about them, this is a really great book that talks about the chemistry and history of cooking, Harold McGee. And I also need a buttered pan, and I'm thinking that it's going to be about this size. Okay, the technique is pretty easy for this. I've done some of it in advance just to show you. So you want to defrost a puff pastry sheet, and what the recipe says is to sheet the pan. So basically line the pan. If you butter the pan first, it'll probably help a little bit. So I've done that and kind of made it pretty. Then you cream together your butter. So it's a half a pound of butter, a quarter pound of sugar, which is about a half cup of superfine sugar, and your 6 egg yolks to make a pretty rich looking kind of buttercream. Then you also mix together in advance your marmalade, or if you're making your own Seville orange preserve, you can do that. But you mix it with the Naples biscuit crumbs to make this, what my spouse calls baby food looking stuff. All right, then here's where the magic happens. You want to mix in, or kind of fold in, the marmalade mix into your buttercream. And I'm going to kind of scrape it a little bit to get it all. And just, you don't have to be incredibly gentle with it, but you're basically just kind of mixing it until it looks like you've got the orange infusing the buttercream. If you've made curd before, lemon curd, it's a little bit like that. And then the last step is just to mix your cream here till it looks good, and add it to your pan. Smooth it till it looks pretty, and bake it for about a half an hour in what's called a gentle oven, which I'm calling 350. So I'll be back with the final product. Okay, we now have the finished product, and you can have a look at the surface of it to see what it looks like. It did blow up a little bit like a souffle, and so this little crack you see is where it fell after it got out of the oven, but I think it's still going to be tasty. I ended up leaving it in the oven for about 40 minutes rather than 30, just to get it a little bit browner on top and a little bit more firm. But it looks like it cooked up pretty nicely, so I'm going to cut into it and show you what it looks like. You can see it's quite buttery and flaky. So that's what it looks like inside. Now we are going to try this and enjoy it as is, but it would also probably be good with a little bit of unsweetened whipped cream on top, or with a nice cup of tea or coffee or milk. I don't know, something to offset the sweetness. But bon appetit.